Alright, boys, how's all doing?
Good.
Yeah, good man.
Good. Hearts win, and it's down to 4, innit? If this was Wednesday night, Thursday night, you'd had 6 right here, all ready to go and get diving into it, wouldn't you? Tam, what do you think about that?
Right.
Busy
You're
tomorrow,
right.
so we've not to say, so we'll
Aye.
say it all night.
I
What happens,
want to
mate?
get this out before Tuesday night, so that's
It's gonna-
minimal editing would be nice, but
It's just a wee peek behind the curtain for everybody in listener land. That Thomas very kindly, very stupidly pleaded with us all. Oh, time's against me. I need to get this edit done really, really fast. Please don't say the too many times. And
Yep.
we're up to 4 already. We've only been
Yep.
rolling 20
Yeah,
seconds.
this one will be
Yes.
a edit, but there you go, Thomas. It's the only value you add to the podcast, so you might as well do something. Just kidding on, boy. Right, welcome back to This Is My Story, your unofficial Hearts podcast. As we say every week, all of our opinions are our own, and normally miles off it. Kev, you're back. You missed the Celtic game, but you were there for the Motherwell game. How's your week been?
Week itself has been absolutely hellish. As I say, missing the Celtic game was just probably the icing on the cake because I hate those cunts. And at the end of the day, sorry, Tam.
Doesn't it get
It
old?
doesn't. So for that point of view, it was a shite week. However, I was able to go back to Tynecastle for the first time this year yesterday, and I think I was the only one there at the podcast.
You sure were. Work commitments and Storm, whatever it's called, snookered Ando. Shanks couldn't be bothered because we'd got beat, and Brad's was in a shed in Carlisle in a stag do for some weird reason. There you go, that famous stag do destination, Carlisle. There we go. Anyway, Tam, what's been happening this week?
I've missed all the games this week as well. Unfortunately, I got hit with the Rona, which wasn't actually the Rona. It was just a good old-fashioned cold. So, watched the game from my bed on Wednesday night, and then yesterday, I'm not gonna lie, I was just hanging at Marsh. So, and the wind put me off because I'm a shite bag essentially.
Correct. At least you acknowledge it, and we move on. Ando, you were up for Wednesday, but Storm, whatever he's called, Malky or something funny, witty name that we give these things every 4 months or whatever it is, snookered you for Saturday.
Sure did, aye. So thanks to obviously the crap, absolute crap state of affairs on the British infrastructure on the rail network, just meant that they decided to pull the plug on the trains as soon as I sat down on the train with my pocket rockets, cracked the first one, getting right up for it, and then the announcement comes to say, oh, there's no more trains running north to Edinburgh for the rest of the day. You need to get off this one because it's going down to London. And I shot straight up to DEFCON 1. It was nearly a full nuclear assault. Proper raging in the huff. But I spent 40 quid on taxis yesterday just to go to Newcastle train station. To train spot for half an hour. That's essentially what I'd done. So I had to come back and watch the game on the telly.
The Saudis take over Newcastle and you're pissing money up the wall for the sake of it. Just chucking 40 quid about for nothing.
Exactly.
Is that what is everybody in Newcastle just minted now?
Exactly. It's just, I'm just going to
oil money.
make it rain with dollar bills like that. There we go.
Aye. I remember the good old days where wind was just wind and that was it. It didn't have to be on the news. But then, as Tam said, I remember the good old days when you used to just get the cold, and that was all that fucking was as well. But let's keep it non-political. Kev, we've got Kevin McCann this week. Ando, you've got, well, I don't know if we actually have the official answer for Shanks McCann, but they're normally that fucking useless anyway that we could take a punt at it. It's obviously Darby week, so we'll do headlines for the week, round off any transfer business, do a bit of transfer rumours with it being tomorrow being the official closing of the transfer window, talk about Celtic Motherwell, and then we'll dive into Darby stuff. So we'll talk about our best Darby goals at Easter Road, favourite Darby moments at Easter Road, and our favourite Darby at Easter Road. Sound good, boys?
Right, absolutely.
Magic. Right, Kevin McCann as his players. What have we got? Do we need the answer to last week, and what are this week's?
Didn't need any answers to last week's. You boys called it out. Ando actually got the right one, but this week I have one for you boys on the pod, and I've got one to go on the socials.
Fantastic.
So that's what we got for this week. To you boys, this individual, this player, signed for the club at the age of 20, and his first game he tripped over his own feet, to which my dad said, "Oh fuck, here's another one." 151 appearances across 5 seasons, scoring a total of 44 goals. He was capped at international level, but never actually scored. And the probable clue that will give it away, he opened the scoring in the Demolition Derby. So that's that's the one for you guys in the pod. We can get the answer later on in the night. And the one that will go out on the socials is the mullet found this kid kicking about in the sand. Played a total of 96 games for Hearts, scoring 66% of his goals against Hibbs. Loves Char Siu Chow Mein and actually played in a World Cup.
Wow.
So there's some clues, and as I say, I'll send the details over to Ando, and he can pull up the artwork for the socials.
I
Glad
never
that
knew
that one's...
Austria like char siu pork. There you go. You know, you learn something every day, don't you?
All right.
Tam, what were you going to say?
I'm just glad that one's for the socials and not for us, because I'd be struggling.
Sums you up, Thomas. That sums you right up. There we go. Right, Shanks McCann. We can remember what he said last week. It was probably a game round about the season that Shanks was a ball boy, and that's
100%.
pretty much could be any game against anybody. We had Eb Skodal made an appearance a few weeks ago. A game against Aberdeen. How he remembered he was the manager, God knows. But what was it? Do you have the clues for last week?
I do. He is nothing but consistent with his incoherent gibberish. So here's the clues for last week. They came in cocky off an 8-game unbeaten run. We were off the back of a disappointing night in Europe. Scoring his only goal for the club, the big man opened things up with a belter from the edge of the box after Moose had come close. The second came in the gaffer, played the man from Merida, which I think maybe means Madeira, played the boy through, who squared it into the box and was finished by the wee chav. They pulled one back by a class volley in the 90th minute. The wee pube went to celebrate regardless of their waistband being near empty. 2-1 to the Gorgie.
See, the thing is that could be, you automatically think it's an Edinburgh derby, which it probably is. But then Shanks, that could be like Hearts versus Partick Thistle or something like that, as if we are supposed to remember who the wee pube is that plays for Partick Thistle. There we go. Tam, did you want to take a guess at who you think it was?
Nah, I'm alright.
Or what it was? No.
I honestly don't have a clue. Like, it just doesn't even make sense. So,
Kev, did you want?
No, but I think the man from Merida, and we were speaking about it before we started recording, is Ramon Pereira. I think he actually came from Merida, some part of Spain, but he can. So that's the only one, but I can't even think any time he scored. So, nah.
he is actually from Merida. You're right.
I was going to say, are we bordering on racist here that we keep saying Merida when it clearly isn't it?
I
Or
thought
we
No,
just played it.
It is Merida. He
Played
played
ignorance.
for a team called Merida as well.
okay. Right. I thought he was maybe a Portuguese guy and his autocorrect had kicked in or something. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We don't know the answer. We're just going to be guessing. But when Mr. Incoherent Gibberish comes back on next time, we'll challenge him for the answer.
I'm going to say that it's Hearts versus Hibbs. It's a 2-1 in an Edinburgh derby, is what I'm going to say. It sounds like the big man will be Kevin McKenna or Martin De Vries or something like that. And who the wee pube is, I don't know.
Could be Derek Ryerson.
Is it that? But would Reardon have been around then, that time?
It's a bit early, isn't it?
Maybe a wee bit early.
Oh, well, never mind. There you go. There's a good pot. We don't have the answer to the question that we asked you last week, so we've just asked you the question again. There you go. We never promised you anything but fucking all over the shop nonsense. So there we go. Right, before we jump into this week's headlines and review a couple of the games that we've played, and then obviously dive into the big one, which is the Derby on Tuesday. We have a Edinburgh Derby quiz, because we've been a while since we did a quiz my old boozied. So let's go for it. Ando, 6 questions, I believe.
It is. It's 6 questions. They're not multiple choice. I'm relying on your knowledge here, and they are Edinburgh Derby themed.
Cam, if
right?
you've got something today, I'll message you when we're done. Do you want to,
Actually, got to go change my washing around actually too.
If you want to take a wee walk or something, mate, I'll get a message when this is done.
Right. So we've got some Hibs related questions and some Hearts questions, rather than just being all one-sided. All right. So first one, question number 1: which post-war Hibs player has scored against Hearts the most? And that's a total of 21 times. All right. So which post-war Hibs player has scored the most against Hearts? And that's a total of 21 times. All right. So it's
for Hibs or in total?
For Hibs against Hearts. So it's someone that you should all have heard of, with the exception of Tam. All right, so write down your answers for that, and I'll come back to you. So we know that John Robertson is the record club goal scorer against Hibs, but how many goals did he score against the Hibs? Right.
Was that a Robbo question? Or sorry, I was writing down my answer for that last one. What did you say?
Yeah, it was. It was Robert question. So Robertson, John, is the record goal scorer against Hibs, but how many goals did he score against them? And if none of you get it right, I'll accept closest to the pin. But you should all know the answer to this. Right, question number 3: how many times have Hearts finished above Hibs in the league?
So that's our closest to the pin, is it?
Has to be sure.
Aye, so if you or even a ratio, right? So Hearts have finished X and Hibs have done Y. To emphasise with this question the power and superiority that maybe one team has over the other. So, right, our longest unbeaten streak. This is question 4, by the way. Our longest unbeaten streak against Hibs was 22 in a row. But what is their longest unbeaten streak against us? How many matches? And you even get a bonus point if you tell me when that streak came to an end. That's a bit difficult one, that. Question number 5. Of all the recorded score lines in Edinburgh derbies, which is the most common? So, for example, is it Hearts 5, Hibs 1? That's not the answer. But what is the most common score line in the Edinburgh derby? And it's happened a total of 71 times, making it by far and away the most popular. And then question 6. Hibs, this is a toughie. Hibs beat Hearts 7-0 in 1973, and we're all painfully aware of that. But what is our best result at Easter Road? So obviously, Hibs came to Tynecastle and beat us 7-0 in 1973. But what is our highest scoreline against them at Easter Road?
At Easter Road.
There we go. That's your 6 questions. So, in no particular order, and just because he's sweating, I'll come to Tam first. So, question 1.
There's no point even trying with the first one, man.
Does anyone know the answer to question 1? Which post-war Hibs player scored the most against Hearts? And it's 21 times. Who do we think? So
I can't believe somebody's even scored 21 times.
Oh, there you go.
Aye, that's it. That is a lot of goals, to be fair. That's what threw me off. Like,
put the lift music in. It's been a while since we heard that.
Is it in the 60s, or is it more recent than that?
I think it's more recent than that. I can't remember exactly when it was.
Keith Wright, that ginger. There you go, Tam. 55 minutes.
No, it's not him. Kev, any idea?
The only one I would know, and solely because my next door neighbour went on about him all the fucking time. Laurie Riley.
Oh, that's a good guess, but it's Gordon Smith.
Gordon Smith would have been my other guess.
Right, this one I'm expecting full points here. So, how many goals did John Robertson score against the Hibs? Tam, coming to you first.
27.
Okay, Corbett, Kev, anything different, or is Tam correct
27.
at 27?
Scored 26 and then scored the other one just for the sake of
it. True. Question 3, how many times have Hearts finished above Hibs in the league? Kev, coming to you first for this one.
I went 52 times.
Oh, that's very, very close. Thomas, what have you went for?
51 times.
I am not having that one little bit, Tom.
I hold that notepaper up. I've made absolute arsehole.
68 up it.
68, all right. Corbett,
other way about, I said 86.
Oh, okay. Well, the correct answer is 50. Right. So when we've been in the same league, Hearts have finished above Hibs 50 times, and Hibs have finished above us 20 times. Yeah, 29
That's
times.
not bad. I had
So
52 and 24. Happy to show
bad.
that.
Yeah,
happy to show that on camera later on. After.
Kev takes the points for that. Right, so question 4. What is Hibs' longest unbeaten streak against us? Bearing in mind that we have 22 in a row against them. What is theirs against us? Corbett, your guess, please.
Was it the Neil Lennon run? Or whatever, it came to an end when we beat them? Was it 9? Is that their longest run?
It wasn't the Neil Lennon run. It is a I'm not going to tell you. I nearly gave you the answer there, Kev.
I thought it was running about the same kind of. I've been 8.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought the same, but I put 7.
7. Okay. Well, the correct answer is 12. All right. So Corbett gets the point for closest to the pin, and that run came to an end in 1978. So a wee bit before, most of your times.
You know, like draw the majority of the games as well.
We've done 22 in a row, 20 in a row, 19 in a row, 3 or 4 times, or whatever, or ridiculous runs are a joke.
And they've done a maximum of 12 unbeaten, which is pathetic.
Yep.
Question 5. What is the most common scoreline in the Edinburgh Derby? So, Tam, you might have jumped the gun there. What is your guess for that?
Why did I jump the gun?
I don't know, did you not? I thought you were about to answer that question when I was midway through the answer.
Oh, no, you're right. I put 2-1 Hearts.
2-1 Hearts, all right,
3-1 Hearts.
Okay, and Corbett?
I went 2-1 Hearts.
It's a draw. It's actually 1-1 is the most popular scoreline.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, it's actually Hibs 2-1, bizarrely. There you go. We just beat them by 5 and 6 and 7. Just not very often though. All right, so no points there. And final question 6. Hibs beat Hearts 7-0 in 1973. But what is our best result at Easter Road? Kev,
so
you're probably there.
Cheeky bastard.
You don't even know what year it was yet.
7-2 Road, but I think we also beat them 11-1, but I don't think that was at Easter Road.
Okay. So which one are you picking?
I'm going to go 7-2.
I know. 7-2.
That was the one I went with.
Well, that's incorrect. Corbett?
10-2.
That's incorrect as well. Tam?
I just went 5-0.
This is a really, really difficult question, and now that I'm thinking about it, I shouldn't have asked it because it's too specific. We beat them 8-3 in 1935, so that was our best difference.
They got a point for being closest.
Just for the sake of shutting you up, why not? Right, so Kev wins. He gets 3 points. Corbett gets 2, and Tam gets 1.
That year.
Aye, exactly.
What year was it?
There. 1935.
Oh, no.
The year you got pubes. Let's move on.
Oh, wait a minute. We have had a text message from
the press, is it?
Aye, we've had a text from Shanky. And apparently the answer is the Darby game where Paddy Kaznorbo scored his only goal. I think it was circa 2004, which means it was probably 10 years after that. And it was 2-1.
Kaznorbo scored in Europe. So what the Good on Shanks, eh?
I think
Did you mean it's only Darby gold? Is that what you meant?
must have been. So they go 20. Well, quickly looking at it, it's 24th of October 2004, 2-1 victory at home. Because normal 14 minutes, Jamie Hamill 76. But that doesn't really tie in with the clues that he's given us, does it?
Who's Medina
Who's
or
the
whatever?
pube?
Marina.
Who's the pube for them?
I have no idea. Who's scored for them? Let me just check. It was Derek Riordan.
Was
There you
it?
go. Aye.
There you go.
I don't know what minute he scored. It doesn't tell me on this, but
That ties into, I was just obviously on that fucking Hibbs Down the Slope podcast or whatever. They were a fucking cheery bunch, man. But they said something about their favourite guy, Reardon or something, and I think he scored 7 Derby goals, and I was like, I meant to say that his record is, I think he managed to score 2 winning Derby goals, the exact same amount as Nadie, which is funny because we think he's absolute dog shit, and their hero only managed to score 2 winning goals in the Edinburgh Derby. But let's move on. We'll get plenty of time to get into them later. Right, I think we just call that quits. Is anybody the winner there?
it's certainly not me. I've just embarrassed myself by writing an impossibly hard quiz, and I'm not kidding you on. I took about an hour and a half doing the research for that. So I'm off quiz duties.
It was a good quiz, but you've got to know your audience. We've got Thomas here. That you'll be lucky if he remembers Hearts players for 2011, let alone Hibs players or Hibs games. Right.
I struggled with 2019 last week and that Auckland Talbot thing.
Yeah.
So, fucking hell.
Right, let's dive into headlines then. Before we get into the Derby part, it was quite a busy week for Hearts. Again, we keep our cards to our chest, but this week we've announced the permanent signing of Toby Sibic and the loan signing of Ellis Sims. Ando, thoughts and feelings? Good business, bad business? What's your initial thoughts on it?
And well, obviously they'll be judged in the fullness of time, but initially I'm absolutely delighted. I think the big man that we've signed up front, he came on obviously for a few minutes against the Celtic. I liked what I seen. He looks like he's going to be an absolute beast. And I think if him and Boyce can get a partnership working, they're going to be absolutely deadly for us this year. I think that they'll for the rest of this year. So I like what I've seen out of them. And Sibic, I was always a fan when Stendhal signed him. He just never really got much of a chance, obviously because of the season being curtailed or whatever. But I like what I've seen out of him, and I thought he played really well yesterday. So it's nothing but a thumbs up for me. Really positive.
Kev, the big guy, I'm trying to think, when was the last time I had a lone striker that come in and scored on his debut or whatever? Like, I'm trying to think of. I know obviously Nando scored 2 in his debut last year, and then I didn't want to turn into a beat Nando situation or whatever, but like even when he scored those 2 goals, because we were on a pod with each other, and I was like, Jesus, that guy looks absolutely awful. Whereas Ellis Sims has looked brilliant since he's came on. I think Robbie's comments after the game were right in terms of he's not a target man. He made loads of good runs. If we can start to feed him in and pick him out or whatever, then you'll probably see the best out of him rather than sort of, we brought him on, and we'll go into the Celtic game obviously in a wee minute or whatever, but we brought him on in Celtic as just an outball, didn't we? We needed somebody up there as a presence that could help beat the press, but you can't be anything but impressed with him so far, Kev.
Yeah, I think as I say, I've only seen a bit of the highlights of the Celtic game on Wednesday night, but yesterday I was impressed with his off the ball running. There was times he was pressing their centre halves. There was times he was even like just a ball that was knocked back towards the keeper. He was chasing it down. There was a big hoo-ha yesterday about a back pass, and the keeper picks it up. But the keeper only picks it up because Sims has actually challenged him. Seemingly it wasn't a back pass, but anyway, we'll not go into that. But even
Tam,
the best...
Tam, write that down. 1 hour and 4 minutes in, Kev said hoo-ha. Get that bleeped out. Save his dignity, man.
The thing that really impressed me was just his actual want and willingness to chase balls and shut folk down. And in the 90th minute yesterday, there was a long just ball out to be Sibic just got ready at kind of idea. But he actually challenged the boy and then won a throw in down beside their box in the 90th minute. Took the pressure off the back four, back five at that point. And from that side of things, I was really impressed by, when was the last time we had any player that would actually, in the 90th minute, actually burst a ball to go and, shut down and win a throw in the 90th minute when you're 2-0 up. So, good bit of business, and on Sibic, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, Toby Sibic was massively impressive for the 115 minutes of football that he played for Hearts in the first time around. It was obviously out of the blue in terms of him signing with us. We'd heard rumblings of him going to the dark side. What's been your thoughts on that bit of business?
As you say, it was surprising. We seen enough of him in that first Rangers game, but I suppose you didn't really know how to judge after 2 games of football previously. But it looks like, from what we've seen yesterday in the 45 minutes he played, like positionally, everything like that, attributes like in terms of physicality and stuff, he was all still there. And that's a player that's not played a game since
November, I think it was.
I think I heard on the radio it was like November, yeah. So that's class to see. So hopefully he can kind of hit the ground running. And it's good that we've got pretty much a decent replacement for Suter already in the bag. And that's not even going into the summer transfer window, when notoriously, obviously, in January, it is hard to find that sort of level of player as well.
Yep. And I believe Mr. Sibic will be joining us on the podcast either the next week or the week after. He can tell us all about how close he came to signing, or how much Hibbs actually wanted to sign him, because there's a lot of nonsense flying about, a lot of denial on the Hibernian side of things about how much they actually wanted to sign him. Deadline day tomorrow. Do you foresee any business being done by Hearts? Do you see any ins or outs?
I personally don't see any. I don't know if you were going to speak there, Tam, but you took so fucking long. I personally don't see any business. I know that Savage was on Hearts TV with Brothwick at the St John's game, saying that they would maybe look to actually maybe bring somebody in to replace Walker. So just another wide man. I know personally who I'd like that person to be, but I think we're going to talk about that individual shortly, so I won't spoil it. But I don't think we'll see any more business.
Well, we might as well spoil it. Let's go for it. We all know who you're talking about. So, Thomas, what's your thoughts on Regan Charles Cook, Ross County? He's been very impressive. Scored at the weekend. Referred to Hearts as the big three. He obviously at the Gorgie Fish Bar right now, isn't he? He's signed, done and dusted, isn't he?
To be honest, I think if we are signing Regan Charles Cook, I don't think it'll be in this window. He is out of contract, obviously, in the summer. I can't see it going through within the next day. But obviously, Hearts could turn around and absolutely pull my pants down because they don't give anything away. So that could happen. But with him being out of contract in the summer, I can't see us chucking loads of money at him in January.
They'll be the only ones willing to pull your pants down. Right, Kev?
I was going to say, the only way I see him coming into the club is if there has been a bid tabled by Rangers, and they go, right, okay, we'll use that money and we'll offer that same money to Ross County for him. That's the only way I see it happening.
And that is the type of slick segues between sections that you've come to know and love of this podcast, because that is where we were going next, Kevin, was John Suter. Rumblings now, what is it, Sunday night the 30th, rumblings now of Rangers coming back to the table with some money, increased bids, etc., after their calamity at the back on Saturday. Ando, do you see this saga ending tomorrow, or will John Suter being Gorgie told me
It'll be Ngorgi till May for me. I think Robbie spoke quite sternly in his after-match interview on Wednesday, was it? Where he basically said that because of the injury to Halliday, is that's all that's done is push the price up. But I don't know. Rangers have a lot to lose. Again, it's not a Rangers podcast, but obviously they've got the potential to lose first place in the league depending on how the results go on Wednesday. So I don't know. Do they have one eye on that? Going, look, Celtic are in pretty good form just now. They look quite unstoppable. Do we just splash the cash now and go for it? My personal feeling is I don't think they will. But I've been wrong about so many things in the past, and I don't imagine this will be any different. So I don't know, but I'd say no.
Yeah, and I agree as well. I think Hearts have been on bullish sort of standpoint from the off with John Souttar, which is it'll take big money to take him to Glasgow. I don't see that changes, and like Robbie said yesterday, will actually now sort of power is, so to speak, is with us because they have a need more than we have a want to sell. So it's it's up to us to name for them to match the price and name the price. Go back to Charles Cook there as well. As I agree, if we did sign him this window, I believe it would probably be on a pre-contract because I think touchwood Hearts Robbie probably feels that the squad's in a healthy enough place. There's 6 changes to the team for Motherwell. We played St Johnstone with no striker. You've got the big guy in, you've got Boyce, you've got Mackay, you've got Gino, you've got GMS. You've got Halliday who's emerging in there can play in those positions and can get goals from those positions as well. I think Hearts will probably look at it and say, we don't really need him just now, if you know what I mean. Like, stay where he is and see out the season with Ross County, because again, he's not going to do us any damage, so to speak. He's probably going to help, like what's happened at the weekend, take points off our nearest and dearest, so to speak, in the league. So yeah, I agree, an agreement. Unless there's big money comes in from Rangers, I think Hearts are done in the window. Would be my.
That's exactly what Robbie said with the BBC yesterday as well. He says unless anyone leaves, they're probably done.
Aye.
Oh, did he?
Aye.
Okay.
And I can't see. Maybe a couple of the young boys will get loans, I would imagine, probably the day after the transfer window shuts and we've done our business from that standpoint, if you know what I mean. Then I think you'll start to see like your Pollock and your Henderson, etc., probably go back out on loan. So there we go. Right, we might as well talk about the fact that we obviously played Saturday this week. So we'll touch briefly on the Celtic game. Again, there's nothing much really that you can say about the Celtic game. If you're wanting in-depth analysis, go back to when we reviewed the game at Celtic Park, or go back to when we reviewed the game in the League Cup, because it was a carbon copy. We had the same tactic for the opening 45 minutes, which was to invite them onto us, let them have the ball and try hit them in the back, and they battered us for 45 minutes. We can talk at length about where it went wrong from Hearts, but Ando, there comes a point in life, as much as we hate to say it, but sometimes you just have to sit back and say that Celtic, the money they spent, the quality they have in there, they taught us a lesson for 45 minutes, didn't they? They absolutely battered us.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, as much as we hate them, Celtic are a very good football team. Just at the end of the day, they're not a team of superstars, but they on pretty much every area of the park, bar the goalie. They've just got better players. And again, we talk about budgets and things like that. I mean, it's the same as us. Obviously, absolutely romping the championship last year. That's the kind of golf and budgets and stature that you're talking about, and that it's sometimes you just have to take it. You can sometimes, like, and usually it's a once in a generation result. Like thinking back to the 5-0 game where we went toe to toe with them, and you know what, that day it just worked. But you could play that style of football another 100 times and get beat 99 out of those 100. It's just, if you get a result against them, it's usually a fluke. Is the sad sort of tragedy of it all, and you know it's difficult to swallow. No one ever likes getting beat off Celtic because, well, I can't stand them, but it's you can't really be too disheartened or despondent about it. There were spells in the game where I thought we did play well, we did try to open them up a little bit, but at the end of the day, getting beat at home off Celtic is not really a surprise anymore, is it?
Well, I think opening 10 minutes, Tam, we were everything we kind of want Hearts to be in terms of we were in their face, we were making them make mistakes. Your Barry Mackay's chance, there was a half chance for Boyce as well from us, basically pressing from the front, putting them under pressure. But after that, they just, for the next 35 minutes, or maybe actually about 50, 55 minutes into the game, they just knocked it round us for fun, didn't they?
Pretty much, as you say, it literally out with that sort of first 10 minutes. It took us to 60 minutes to really get a foothold in the game. And I get what you're saying, Ando, I get that, but it really just bugs me that I don't know what it was down to, but there seemed to be a lack of just basic footballing ability or drive in that 40, 50 minute period where we weren't getting as close to them. We weren't able to pass a ball 10 yards type thing. And that might be because of down to their press type thing. But it really took for Bennett to come on, Sims to come on, for us to actually have a change of sort of tactics. And I don't know, it's the same old story, but it just frustrates me so much that we go into the game playing so well and then let them play their own game when they come to Tynecastle.
Do you think that's because we paid I know you get what I'm saying, but do you think that part of that is because we paid them too much respect? Is that a factor in it? Where we should just go and be a 100%. Little bit more bully?
Yeah, because like you said, we bring Benny on and stick him in the middle of the park and sit him on, is it Hatate, the guy that scored the belter in the first half, who was cigars and slippers, who was brilliant. And then we sat Benny on him, and actually it gave everybody a lift because we started winning the ball off him. Started taking the ball from the middle of the park. We started playing passes. And then obviously we grow into the game. There's a couple of contentious decisions in the match like there was at Celtic Park, but to be honest, the referee was howling for both teams. Again, you know, their second goal's probably offside. Our first goal's probably offside. How Beaton doesn't get a second booking for the deliberate handball, I don't know. How Cammy Devlin avoids a second booking as well, if you're looking at from the other side as well, is a bit shite. But like you said, for the minute we put Benny on, stopped him passing it around us for fun, and like I know it's pure anti-Hud Boz stuff like we talk about all the time, but genuinely, if Liam Boyce hits the penalty an inch inside that post, it goes in, I think Hearts win that game. Because Celtic, for as great as they are, and this is where I find it really weird with Celtic, is that they do look superb going forward, but whenever they're under pressure, they just look awful at the back. And even at the end, they were hanging on. Like, they managed the 6 minutes or 7 minutes of injury time at the end very well, but that was the only bit of control that they had from Boyce scoring to make it 2-1 until that very second, when they kept it in the corner and they just sucked the life out of Hearts and we couldn't get in it and going forward or whatever. But everything up until then, the penalty, the build-up play, the headers, the half chances or whatever, they were like last-ditch defending, saves, poor finishing from us, poor decision makings from us. But we kind of we said this on Twitter, and Kev, it's something that Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, Dundee United, etc., because Dundee United were a minute away from a result at Celtic Park yesterday, is we get to break this glorious failure stuff, don't we? Like this, pat ourselves in the back because we come so close, because you can't build on anything like that. That's us lost. Tynecastle's a fortress. That's us lost to Celtic and Rangers this year at Tynecastle, and both times have been glorious failures where we've played really, really well, had loads and loads of positives, but they've took the 3 points and fucked off.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's. I mean, I can only go by what you boys were saying while I was trying to work on Wednesday night. That there was too many occasions where the worst, sitting off them. But it's coming to that point where it's just expected now. And I know what Ando was saying about, you can go and play like we did when we beat them 4-0 under the Specky Tube. And from that point of view, I get that. Why not? Why can't you go and press them all the time? It's and you're right. They're back four, and I've heard a couple of Celtic fans saying that the back four are solid now, but it didn't look solid for what I seen, and that was just the highlights on Wednesday night. It still looks like they're not confident maybe in the keeper. They're not confident in the left back. They're not confident in the boy. What's his name? Cameron Vickers. He looked a bomb scare. The boy Starfield beside him is even just as bad. So
he is crap.
So for that point of view, when you start to look at it that way, and we ourselves are fairly offensive. So for that point of view, stop. We've said it God knows how many times. Stop giving them the ball, press them, get in their faces. Alloa done that, and you look at how much we're bitch crying about how too hard done by they were at Alloa, who were just too strong a team, biting ankles and kicking arse or whatever it was that they moaned about.
Aye. Well, there we go. That's enough about fucking Celtic anyway. Fuck them. Right, let's move on. Disappointed, but we move on. And then again, like I said before, we wrote in the matchday programme for the Celtic game, is the most impressive thing about this Hearts team is its ability to win when it's below its best, but also something that's emerging is its ability to bounce back from poor performances and poor results. Touchwood so far, I don't think we've had back-to-back defeats in the league, have we? I think we've lost and then won, and then or we've drawn or we've got back on the horse straight away. Playing Motherwell at home, Tynecastle, Motherwell gave us an absolute chasing at Fir Park. We've spoken about it before. It was probably the worst performance of the season. And we made 6 changes. We tried to sort of play GMS in the 10, Boyce and Sims kind of as a front two, almost brought some players in, took some players out, and it just Ando, sorry. Well, actually, I'll go to Kev because Kev was there. Ando, I forgot that you were sitting on a train in Newcastle, but it seemed to just disjoint us, didn't it? We just the opening 25 minutes, we just seemed to be thrown off as to we didn't really know what everybody's job was, type thing.
Yeah, very much so. I think the six changes within the team did upset the sort of flow of the team, bringing Suter into the middle and bringing Taylor Moore in, or Lewis Moore as the boy sitting behind me in the Wheatfield was calling him. And I don't think Taylor Moore himself actually felt comfortable. No, he was rattled a couple of times.
It was his worst game. It was his worst game in Moorine.
Definitely, and I think that had a knock-on effect to Atkinson. I think he didn't feel comfortable. I don't know if that was because he was always thinking, I need to maybe come back in here to cover from a Moore mistake or whatever. But yeah, the first 25 minutes we were all over the place. Motherwell actually, give them their dues. They actually played some nice football, little triangles, things like that. We were not at the races. But then Benny put a challenge in, and it just seemed to lift both the players and the crowd. And then within the space of 3 or 4 minutes after that particular challenge, Halliday's knocked one at the back of the net, and it seemed to take a bit of relief and a bit of pressure off the boys' shoulders.
Aye, and that's what's impressive in it. Is Robbie makes the changes. He's made changes at Livingston. We went on to win the match. He's made changes for St Johnstone. We went on and won that match. He's made changes there, and Halliday comes in, and he's Marmite just now. People either love him or hate him, but I think we've won every game that he's scored in. He's pretty much Mr. Resilient, Mr. Consistent, because he can play any number of positions, and you know what you get with him. Even when he came on against Celtic, I thought he added a bit to the game when he came on, and I thought he for what he was asked to do on Saturday, he made a difference. Tam, there's a lot of clamour to have Haring extend his time and stay in Gorgie. Would you be against Halliday getting a contract?
Not at all. I would expect updated terms from what the rumours are of what his wages are, because he's apparently one of the highest earners, which he's very much a squad player. But I'm as you said correctly there, like, he covers so many positions now that I think another year at least is a good thing to have, and he's a good option. And to be honest, the way he's playing at the moment, I'd be very surprised if Cochrane starts ahead of him on Tuesday night.
Yeah, we'll come to that a bit later, but yeah, I would tend to agree. The positives, Ando, are that we dug out the result, we get the win, but I suppose we'll go back. We touched on him there, but Ellis Sims was probably the highlight of the match, wasn't it, in terms of his all-round performance. He gets a goal. Well, again, I'm trying to think when the last time we had a lone striker come in that scored in his debut, but it seems to be a wee bit of something that we've been missing so far this year.
Aye, I think, well, obviously we've only seen really a few minutes of him, but as I said earlier on, when we were talking about the signings, I'm impressed from the little that I've seen of him. He took his chance absolutely perfectly, but obviously honourable mention to Boyce, whose pass was absolutely superb to play the ball at his feet. That was absolutely brilliant, and if those two can link up like that, obviously there's probably a little bit of a conversation needs to be had about who plays where and sort of how it all fits together. But I'm absolutely excited to see what this boy's capable of, and I think those two in partnership could be, as I said before, absolutely deadly.
Well, quick one before I come to you, Tam. Get a penalty on Tuesday. Does Boyce hit it?
For me, yes. What is it? He's missed 3, I think, this season.
Missed half the penalties that he's hit this year.
Aye.
Is that right? Is it?
3 out of 6.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'd give it to him. Why not? Right. Well, it depends actually. If it's the 95th minute and it's 0-0, then no, give it to the big man. But if we're if we're already 2-0 up, home and hosed or whatever, then fuck it. Why not? It'll bring his confidence back. But it's small margins, isn't it? Half an inch more to the right hand side, and that penalty on Wednesday was a goal. That's
replaced the Stephen Kingsley penalty in the cup final for me. I'll not stop thinking about that. How has it hit the inside of the post and went out for a goal kick? How has that happened?
Well, the only way
trickled across the line as well.
It's one of those ones we're going to have to dig up Stephen Hawking and get him to explain it. How
did that happen?
Mysteries of the universe. But to be fair, you called it every time Boy steps up for a penalty, and you called it against Stock and you're like, he's going to miss, and it's you. You're the problem. Sorry. It's like, see if you just shut up and don't say that Boyce is going to miss.
I never even watched the penalty. I turned round to see it hit the post and thought, fuck's sake. Here we go. Right, what were you going to say?
Just wanted to point out, I think it's last person to score on the Darby was, not Darby, on their debut was Zifuk. Scored a double, I think. I know how much you love him, so I just wanted to point out.
Thank you for your contribution. That'll be the last of it, promise. Thank you very much. But I thought
that washing needs.
But look, it's something that Hearts haven't had for a long time, and I've said it before. And this isn't trying to be disrespectful to any of the other teams, and if they get offended, fuck them. Who cares? Listen to a different pod. But it's been a long time since we go into run-of-the-mill home games, against your St Johnstones, your Livingstones, your Motherwells, your Dundee United, your Dundees, whoever, and I genuinely don't see us getting beat. Don't get me wrong, there'll be one or two here or there where, for example, Van Veen could have slotted it in the bottom corner in 20 minutes and Motherwell go 1-0 up and you're chasing the game, or you'll get a sucker punch like Dundee scoring with the only shot on target that they've had after we've battered them. But I've sat and watched Kilmarnock go 3-0 up at Tynecastle and thought, what the fuck is going on? I've watched Hamilton go 2-0 up at Tynecastle and think, what the hell is happening here? those days feel like they're nowhere on the horizon. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you fix your home form and everything else kind of falls into place. And Saturday was one of those ones where, you know, because the hissy fits that I throw watching Hearts, I watched 25 minutes and turned it off. I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm not watching any more of this. This is rubbish. And but at no point did I really suspect that we wouldn't go on to win. So that's, for me, is the most impressive thing so far about this season. Ando.
So I'm not making a direct comparison, but if you look at the Burley season, right? I know people are going to listen to this and go, "What the fuck is he talking about?" He's not comparing the Burley season to this, but I am in a sense, is that because when you have you look at the Burley season, they were going into matches going, right, how much are we going to win by? It is just going to be a victory, and that's the same. Well, you know, the team is nowhere near that level, but it's that same sort of confidence that you go into. Like, I could see nothing other than a win. To your point, on Saturday, I know it took us 22 minutes to put the first reasonable move together, but you just know that even if we do start slow, we are going to come good in the end. And again, barring a couple of outliers, it is a case of looking at we'll dismiss them 1, 2, 3, 4 now, whatever.
You say that the squad isn't as good now as it was back in the Burley season. I don't know. I was quite impressed yesterday with the fact that subs that we were making yesterday, Devlin going off, Haring coming on. I think the fact that there was a couple of times in that season you were still taking folk on, you maybe weren't getting the same quality coming back on the park. I think at the moment there's not.
Calling you out, Kev, I never said it wasn't as good. I said it's just not at the same level, right? So I'm talking.
What do you mean then? What do you mean about the different? No, you were talking about the team and you said the same about the level.
Yeah, it's not the same level, right? Because if you look at the level of quality, is one thing. I'm talking about the level of intensity. You look at the Burley season, we were going out. The game was done in 20 minutes, right? It took us 20 minutes to get out the traps against Motherwell, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Right, sorry, that's not the way it came across.
Apology accepted, it's fine.
But the thing is, as well, is like you said, is they're non-comparable, in which I know that Ando wasn't then, but like the George Burley season, and it's one of those things that Hearts fans will never see again. Champions League winners, Euro winners, Julian Borelli, guys we've brought in from Juventus, like those guys were in the team. What's impressive about this one is that it's a squad that's highly competitive and such high output, and we've paid nothing for it. Like, they're just shrewd pieces of business. Like, if we've paid a fee for Civic, we've probably paid £200,000 tops if we've paid that for him. And that's an asset that we could potentially sell for millions if he realises his potential while he's at Hearts. Cammy Devlin, Atkinson, you've got Benny, you've got Boyce, you've got Mackay, you've got all these guys that have come to the club for barely anything but have hundreds and hundreds of potential. So I get what you mean. Right, let's talk.
It always bugs me that. Sorry, just before we move on, is that Hearts never publish. See, when we buy someone,
again,
it's always an undisclosed fee. Yet when we sell someone, we'll always shout about it because it was worth millions, like Osman Sow, Aaron Hickey, whoever it might be. But we never tell anybody how much we've spent on buying them in.
400 ginger bottles and
aye.
Right, boys. Obviously, we've beat around the bush for the last hour talking shite. Big one Tuesday, Hearts versus Hibbs, Easter Road. Let's talk about it. What's your thoughts and feelings on it? Early doors, Kev. What are you thinking?
It's always that. It's always that sort of 48 hours before any derby. You're in that. I can't see anything other than a win for us. And then you start to think, as you get closer to the game, you're like, do you know what? I'll take a point now. It's that particular moment for me at this time. I'm not going, which is also pissing me right off. I'm sitting on 107 fucking loyalty points, and the flipping sold out at 110. So a little bit raging from that point of view. But I do feel again they're in turmoil. We seem to be playing well against the majority of other teams, but of course form goes out the window with a Darby and all those kind of statements. So I'll take a draw now. Thanks very much. And over to Tam.
Wow, that's
Shite bag.
Yeah.
100%.
Right, from one shite bag to another. Thomas, talk to me.
Have I had a Tam Courts moment here? You keep calling me Thomas
I know.
tonight. Is
It's
it?
because you've got it on the screen.
A marketing
You've got it on
play?
the screen as Thomas, so I'm referring to you as Thomas.
You forgot my name.
Yep.
I'm completely opposite. I hope we go there and absolutely smash them. Form is in the window at the moment. Like, it's not out yet. Like they're shite. So we need to just go there and smash them.
This Ando, if this was shoes on the other foot, us transitioning, seemingly shite, in terrible form, going up against them in great form, third in the bag, we'd win every day of the week, wouldn't we? Because that's what Hearts do.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's a weird one. So we've moaned before, right? And we obviously had Steve for the Hibs Talk podcast on for the last Darby or whatever, that when it was Jack Ross and it was Robbie Nielsen, I always felt that if the two of them could get in the room before the game and shake hands and say, let's take a draw now, they would have taken it. But I don't think Sean Maloney will treat it like that, if you know what I mean. I think he's going to try and play football. I think he's going to try and be expansive. I think he's going to try and try and get them to play in a nice and attractive way, like the type of shit Ian Cathro did. And I think Hearts are, for the first time in a long time, a team filled with proper Hearts bastards. And I think we'll just roll over the top of them. Ando, what's your thoughts and feelings?
I'm absolutely shitting myself with woe. I'm the same as you. The form is and swagger is everything in football. And let's be honest, Tam, you say that they're shite. Who have they got that's going to cause us a problem? Really? Realistically, I watched the highlights of the Livingston game. They look absolutely terrible. And I know it's the highlights, but if we turn up there, don't get don't take it for granted. We will absolutely face down smash them into the ground.
Can we put this out on Wednesday?
Make edits.
We can if you want, but I'll heavily edit it with Steve Banks.
Aye. So again, you watched their game on Saturday, and you think, well, they seem to be shipping goals, and let's be honest with you, they're to go 2-1 up. It's a cross that's took the keeper out the game, and the opener is fucking horrendous defending. And you see where Hearts are and what Hearts are trying to do and where we're going to play. I hate being confident. And like I said, we were just on the Down the Slope Hibs podcast, and they are fucking miserable. They are literally like, they could not see this game further away. They have absolutely give themselves no hope on Tuesday, which again also fills me with absolute dread, because it would be peak Hearts. Kevin Nisbet scored 1 goal in 40 games, and Deutsch hasn't scored since he came back his injury. Demi Mitchell is back and playing with them. They've got loads of these players that they say are shite that'll probably show up for one match and give us a chasing. That's the fear. But again, you've got to, if Hearts play to their strengths, here's my question to you: do we continue? Do we play this 3-4-3 as we have been and put Mackay in the 10 instead of obviously GMS drops out? Do you think that's what Robbie will do? Does Cochrane play for Halliday? Does Halliday keep his place? What do we do in the midfield? Do we keep Benny and Devlin there, or what are your changes? What are your thoughts? So Tam, give me your starting 11.
Okay. So obviously Gordon, Atkinson will have to play. Then I'd go Sibic, Suter if he's still with the club / not injured, Kingsley, Halliday. Then Benny, Herring, Mackay, Sims, Boyce would be my team.
Right, okay. So Devlin drops out for you.
Yeah, which is hard luck, but I just think in terms of the game, Benny has to start, and Herring's just, although Devlin did have a few decent
Two
passes
assists.
yesterday, but no, I think, two
Two
assists,
assists.
exactly.
He's never sat on the bench for a single game. He's never missed a single game. He's been fit since he came to the club.
I just love Herring, and I think he's a different type of player and has the ability to change a game with a single pass or something like that. So, although Devlin at Easter Road will be a bastard, and we need bastards there. So,
Aye.
Come on, Dan, make up
I
your
don't
mind.
Aye.
I've made up my mind. I want Herring and Benny, for me.
Right, okay. The midfield two that played in the first Derby of the season.
Yep.
Kev, your starting 11?
Gordon and goals. I think a lot goes down to whether Suter is still at the club or not. If Suter is still at the club, I would go Suter, Sibic, and Kingsley across the back three. Atkinson, Benny, Devlin, and Cochrane across the middle. Boyce and Sims up front.
Mackay.
And I think you have to, because I gave GMS absolute dog's abuse yesterday, maybe loud enough that he actually heard me, and then about 3 minutes later actually chased back and won a ball. And I'm taking credit for that one, admittedly, but I think the fact that for the first half yesterday we were all over the place, we seem to have no creativity at all with Mackay being out the team. We have to put Mackay back in there and play him in that 10 role.
Agreed. Ando?
We completely ruling out Mikey Smith with his back spasms and whatever issues he's got. Simple equation for me: Moore out, Sibic in, GMS out, Mackay in. That's it. The rest of it stays the same.
I agree. I'm the opposite though. I think that Gordon will play. It'll be Sibic, Suter, and Kingsley. I think Halliday will play, but he'll play instead of Atkinson, who made mistakes in the Celtic game, was a bit unsure of himself. Motherwell's in Edinburgh Derby, his first one. Their biggest threats will come from Cadden and Mitchell, or Doig, whoever plays there in terms of the wing backs. I think he'll play Halliday out there because I think Halliday knows the game, knows the fixture, knows the thing. He'll play Devlin and Benny, and I'll play Cochrane on the other side, and Sims, Boyce, and Mackay up front is my.
So you're saying he'll put Halliday on the right hand side?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll play him instead of Atkinson would be my guess. I wouldn't be surprised to see GMS get a game somewhere as well, because Robbie seems to love GMS in these types of matches. But
5 subs. He can come on once we're 2-0 up home or 3-0 up home and hosed.
Right,
I'm fine with that.
Before we dive into our fave trip down memory lanes with our fave stuff, so let's do the big boy stuff. Tam, predictions for Tuesday night?
2-0 Hearts.
Who's scoring? Might as well go for it.
Boyce double.
Nice, I'd fucking love that. Kev?
For all of me being negative, a little bit like yourself, Corbett, earlier on, I still do think we will be able to get a victory on Tuesday night. That might come back and bite me in the ass, but there we go. I'm going 2-1. I'm going to go for I'm going to go with our forward line. I'm going to go Boyce and Sims.
Nice. Ando?
But Hibernian 0, Heart Midlothian Football Club 4.
Oh, mate, that's tap stuff, mate.
Is that what you're going on the predictor with?
Yes, and I'll tell you for why, right? This will be the first Edinburgh Derby I've not made for a long, long time at Easter Road. And because I'm not there, it will be a spectacle to be savoured and remembered for a generation. And I will absolutely wreck my house at the fact that I'm not there. So I can see nothing else other than a 4-0 victory for the famous. It'll be a double from the big man, and then a double from my bestie Boyce.
Nice. More conservative, I think it'll be 2-0 to Hearts. I don't see us conceding a goal, if I'm being honest. I think we'll be pretty comfortable if we go there. My worry is that we'll mimic what we did with Celtic. We'll start slow and grow into the game, which potentially gives them semi-lifeline, if you know what I mean, because I think they'll look to try and get a reaction from the result yesterday, so they'll maybe start a little bit faster. But if we get into our groove, we start playing our game, and they try to play expansive and nice football, I think we'll be too aggressive for them and get too much in their face. I'm saying Devlin and Mackay to score both their first goals for the club.
That would be awesome.
Tomorrow.
That.
You'd be up the bag chugging one out.
Devlin will not come back out of the stand if he scores. We will play the remainder of the game with 10 men as Devlin is in with the Gorgie aggro singing his own song.
All right, I thought you'd be taking them down the toilets for a quickie. But
right, we'll end it with we've got about a best Derby goal at Easter Road. Give me your best memory, your best moment, Derby moment at Easter Road, and give me your favourite Derby ever at Easter Road. So we'll go around one at a time. So give your best Derby goal at Easter Road, Tam.
Ollie Lee. Because I was there in person, I would say. Obviously, he's took something out there from nothing and scored an absolute peach. That was the night I realised I had to get my eyes tested because I couldn't really see it, and I didn't know it actually went in until everyone went mental. So, aye.
Ollie Lee, nice. Ando?
I've covered this goal before, but it's Scatchell. Like 92nd minute or something in a 3-1 win back in 2012. Ball comes in, he takes it down superbly and just absolutely laces through it, practically busts the net with it. It happened right in front of me. I still get hard thinking about that. Aye. I still have, let's say, fond recollections of that when I'm having a wee bit of alone time with myself. That goal's up there for me. Brilliant.
I do enjoy that goal as well. Kev?
I also love that goal, but I'm actually going to give the best goal to Bozanic in the 3-1. The last, which bizarrely 2 years ago, near enough, was the last game at Easter Road. I just thought the actual goal itself, he gives Boyce a wee shout and curls it nicely outside the post and then back in, and their keeper had no chance. So I'm going to give it to Bozanic.
Yeah, tidy finish. It's underrated because this goal, or my favourite goal, because of the context of which it was scored and the scenes after it, etc. But Phil Stamp's goal to win it is actually a brilliant move from Hearts. Cross ball, nice touch, inside, 1-2, beats his man, fires it in the bottom corner. It's actually a brilliant team move that is just obviously superseded with the fact that it was a last minute winner after being a goal down, equalising in the 90th, winning it in the 93rd, and the scenes after it. Like you said, Tam didn't see that Ollie Lee had scored. I couldn't tell you, didn't know until I'd got home that Phil Stamp had been sent off. Do you know what I mean?
Because he was sitting next to you in the stand.
And I say it all the time, like, someone will have to show me that match again. Kevin Twaddle never came out of the stand. He never came out of the stand for Kevin McKenna's goal. He was in there for the start. So the Stamp goal, just for the sheer teamwork, was up there. I also honourable mention to the David Templeton goal as well, because that was a walk in the park for him, wasn't it? He took every single one of them on amazing. And I'm hoping for a Barry Mackay-esque goal on Tuesday from the young man. So there we go. Right, give me your favourite Derby moment at Easter Road, and I'll go in reverse order. Ando, what's your fave Derby moment?
Favourite Derby moment was one. It was only a couple of years ago. It was Shanks and I we travelled to the game together, and he was absolutely buckled, right? And this will always stick with me, right? Is that he went away back behind the scenes to go for a pee or whatever, came back out, clearly had forgotten where we were sitting. We were in like row 4 or something like that. So he's just standing. I've got pictures of him, right? He's standing at the front, in front of a little cement barricade, just standing, looking up at the crowd, going like that. Oh, it's like he's so burst, right? It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I'm shouting at him because Shanks, we're up here, I'm up here. But he just goes like that and just like tries to do like some sort of orchestra maneuver where he's trying to get the crowd up and singing. That, I know it's nothing related to a goal or limbs or anything like that, but it's one of the best moments I've ever seen is Shanks. crawling out, absolutely burst, trying to orchestra the crowd into singing his name or whatever it was. It was absolutely golden, hilarious.
Try to sing heart songs that he makes up the words to.
Exactly that.
That no one else knows what he's actually talking about. Right, Kev, your favourite?
My favourite
Darby
moment goes back to a certain postie, or who eventually became a postie, Wayne Foster, scoring through Bandy Layton's legs. And it's not the actual the goal itself, or the fact that he with all Hearts fans in the old terrace at the Dunbar end going absolutely mental, or my mate Neil Hunter, who was about 7 at the time, and he's up against the fence with his face plastered on it. It's actually when you start to pan back, and he's in hospitality Easter Road, in his own little box with 6 or 7 mates that are all Hibbies, and he's just standing at the windy with his hands up in the air. And he stood like that for about a good 5 or 6 minutes. Every time the ball went past, you could see him standing up at the windy. And it's every time it pops in on YouTube or Twitter or whatever, it's always Alan that you can see standing behind the Hearts dugout going absolutely nuts, and amongst all the Hibs guys that were there for hospitality.
back in the day where we used to sell half their main stand as well.
Aye.
We used to sell half their main stand and behind the goals. We should get that arrangement back because I can't wait to see Tuesday's crowd. It's posted as a sellout because obviously it's sold out for it being the New Year Derby or whatever, so they're claiming that it's a sellout, but there'll be fucking no chance it's a sellout in the home end on Tuesday night. No. Right, Tam, give me your best Derby moment, Easter Road.
Well, funny enough, you're involved in it. You probably know what I'm talking about, but I've discussed it on the podcast before, but it was a game when Stephen Elliott scored a last-minute winner, and we all ran down to the front of the stand, and as I ran down, I just heard a wee, all right, Tam, and it was Corbett getting huckled off the pitch by the stewards and police.
It's good.
After hugging Stephen Elliott, probably.
Well, it was a 2 each game, and you're right. And what had happened is I ran down the stairs, jumped onto the pitch, jumped onto Ruben Palazuelos' back, who carried me over the advertising boards onto the grass side. It was carnage. I picked the steward up because everybody was going mental and he was getting trampled on. So I picked him up because I thought, I'm a sound guy, I'll pick him up. And I picked him up like that, and then went to start walking and was like, why are my legs moving but I'm not going anywhere? And then realised that I was literally just now in the arms of 2 policemen who were carrying me off the park as I seen Thomas and was like, all right, Tam. As I got chucked out of Easter Road again. Cool. Well, my favourite moment is was a random as hell thing where me and my friend Jamie, who now lives in New Zealand, burst the night before the Derby, woke up burst, remained burst, but Jamie in his infinite list of great ideas decided that he would get a David Beckham diamond ear stud pre-match. So we were walking around St James's Centre, absolutely burst, to get to Claire's Accessories or whatever it was. Jamie had to stand in queue at the back of the line where the 8 wee lassies were getting their ear pierced so that he could sit in the window of Claire's Accessories and get his David Beckham diamond earring shot into his ear. Went to the pub, got more burst, went to the game, celebrated. I think we won 2-1, scenes celebrating, and I remember coming back up from the ground being like, I must have sat on juice or something because my hands are all soaking wet, and actually my hands were covered in blood because I had ripped Jamie's David Beckham ear off. I had literally ripped the bottom half of his ear off, celebrating in Mingingwell. That was great fun. So there you go. I remember Hearts winning, but also having someone's ear in my hand. That was a first for everything.
I didn't know he was living in New Zealand now, but and
also
never noticed that the bottom half of his ear's missing either.
It's he's got like a big. It was basically like cut it in half, ripped. None of us could find. He spent the rest of the game trying to find the diamond earring on the ground, and I just couldn't stop laughing and hanging about how one, how ridiculous it was that he wanted the David Beckham earring when he was probably 35 or something at the time, which was pathetic. But there you go. So that was my favourite, one of my favourite Derby moments at Easter Road. Right, favourite Derby at Easter Road. Just all round occasion. Great result, great day out, great whatever. So Tam, give us your favourite Derby at Easter Road.
I don't really know why this is, but just a good day out overall. Although the cup game that it was in ended pretty shitly, but it was the game where Stevenson scored that another contender for favourite goal I'd seen at Easter Road in the League Cup quarter final. But yeah, just class day out and topped off with a class goal. But one of those games, obviously that season we weren't really expecting to win much, and then to still come out winners was decent.
And again, talking about what's happening for Tuesday, obviously with the Derby, we were in horrendous form, having to play kids.
Yep.
We were all over the place. They absolutely battered us for like half an hour. Jamie McDonald was outrageous in goals. They hit the post, they could not score. And then he actually had a sighter a couple of minutes before it where he turned and smashed it and it just went wide. And then obviously he's turned and rattled it in the top corner. And there's always moments in Ando and Kev, you'll probably have known what I'm talking about because we're of a vintage where we've been to a few. And it'll be the same on Tuesday if we can get past a certain point in the first half where either we've scored or it's 0-0, where you can just feel either we get a shot or a breakaway or we win a corner or there's a tackle or something, and it's like somebody's pulled the bath plug out. You can just feel all their enthusiasm and Fingway, and the realisation as they slump into their seats where they think, fucking here we go again. And that is that moment where he's just turned round, rattled it in the top bag, and collectively you could just sense around the stadium they thought, fucking hell, here we go. We're going to get knocked out by the Hearts under 12s. And they absolutely fucking did. Right. Kev, your favourite Derby?
There's as you rightly say, I've got a few vintage visits to down to Easter Road, from the good old days, and mine will be one of the good old days. I think it was really the first time I can remember really enthusiastic for going to Easter Road, because I had been there a couple of times before and we'd always won, and it's the infamous game where the police, so the senior police officer that was effectively trying to control the crowd at the match on 1990, I think it was, comes into the Hearts changing room at half time. Hearts are 3-0 up already and say, is there any chance, boys, you can just take your foot off the gas and not score any more goals, because these Hibs fans are going absolute tonto. They're chucking everyone onto the park. They're coming on the park themselves, want to have fights with their own players and everything. So that was probably my favourite itself, for the point of view that we're all there as a family, and we won 3-0, could have won 6, probably 7, could have been 8, who knows. All because a policeman sells all the Hearts players, any chance you can take your foot off the gas, please, lads.
Aye.
Clearly did as well. That's disappointing.
Oh.
Well, it was
3-0 at half time and it finished that way.
It was the hands-off Hibs Derby, wasn't it? It was the Mercer
Right.
the Mercer takeover or whatever. I think
Right.
Rollo scored 2, and did Craig Levine get the other one? Is it Craig Levine that comes in at the back post and scores in a half
I
volley?
think it is. Aye, because I think it was close to Levine actually getting 2, but Robertson effectively stole one off him.
He knocked
Aye.
one in
Aye.
and ran to the corner, and they were piling onto the park. Strangely, not to batter Robbo, but to batter Hibs players, which is quite funny. But aye, that's become a bit of an urban myth, that game, where I think we've had a couple of people. Did John Cahoon not say it on our pod that
think he did,
confirmed that they came in and asked us to calm down and stop scoring goals because it was getting a bit tasty. So that was a classic, and a good Hearts-top as well. That's what you want. That was a classic Hearts-top as well. Right,
Belter.
Ando.
We spoke about this one before, so I'll not labour it too much, but go back to 2002. You spoke about it earlier. Moose and Stamp, 2-1. Absolute scenes. I think Corbett, you and I were on the bus for that one. Absolute carnage, folk getting battered. It was just that entire day, start to finish, was absolutely superb. And that's probably one of my best visits to Easter Road, I think.
And if you want a more in-depth analysis of that day, the episode is called Big Bill's Bangers. It was when my dad.
That's right.
It was when my dad took his top off for no fucking reason. There's a sight that you want as a young boy looking back up after limbs to see your dad with his tits out. There you go. There you go.
I hope it happens on Tuesday, to be honest with you.
Mate, I'll be taking his tap off for him. I'll be like, get them out there. Get the bangers out for the boys. My fave Darby, again, just it's a culmination of things that if I was to try and explain the Darby feeling to people, then it could have been the first Derby that year, it could have been the relegation party before it could have been any number of the games in the head, the slow decline towards administration. My favourite one, because Rudy was in the crowd and must have been terrified because he was there with his missus, had to get the police to escort him out the stand, and then I remember at the end of the 90 minutes seeing him in the top tier of the main stand celebrating because the place was empty by this point. But it'll be the Callum Patterson. You'll have seen the video on YouTube. You're fucking animals, she's a shite. As we are 2-0 up with our under 12s. But it was the last derby of the year where Hearts had a 15-point deduction. We were relegated. Given the fact that we weren't allowed the transfer window that the SFA gave Rangers, and they made us play our 15-point deduction season with all of our youngsters and random pros that we could pull together, or senior pros that we could pull together. We had just beat them at Tynecastle before the split in the relegation derby, where those silly there's your last one for the night, printed off thousands of invitations to our relegation party because they could have relegated us if they beat us, and they got beat 2-0, and then 2 or 3 weeks later we play them at Easter Road, kind of the same scenario. I think we'd already sealed our fate. I think we'd already been relegated by how results had went. We go 1-0 up with a Callum Patterson header at the back post. Whilst we're celebrating and singing for that, we go 2-0 up for Callum Patterson header at the back post. And they are absolutely, again, like we just said, they're pulling the plug out the bath. The realisation that not only are they being beat again by Hearts under 12s, but they are also going to be relegated themselves. And that, for me, was the game that absolutely sealed their fate, because from that moment on, they shat the bed, and it was absolutely fucking glorious. So Patterson's double at Easter Road, that encapsulates what it's like to be a Hearts fan going into these derbies. We could have played us in that pod. It could have been Hearts Podcast 11 versus Hibbs, and we'd win. We'd knock them out. We beat them in the semi-final last year when they were flying high. We were in the Championship, knocked them out the Cup. We've beat them with Daniel Stendhal, the worst Hearts manager ever, and the worst Hearts team I've seen for a generation. Beat them 3-1. We will always rule the roost in Edinburgh, because we are the establishment club. Get it fucking up, piece. Right, roll on Tuesday. I can't wait now. Let's get in about it, Tam. Me, you, let's get a dinner and everything. Fuck it, let's get the burgers going. Come on, I'll come to this dinner with you and Shanks. Let's do it.
I was going to say something that would require a bleep, but
Right, Kev, will we end it on this high note, or are you going to pull the bath plug out and gears your answer to your Kevin McKenna?
No, I think the Kevin McKenna, given the last little clue, will definitely be a highlight. So for that point of view, Ando's already wanting it, but the clues
I
were...
got it last time, so someone else gets the glory this time.
All right. So signed for the club at the age of 20, and his first game, he tripped over his own feet, and my mind went, "Oh Christ, here we go again." 151 appearances across 5 seasons, scoring a total of 44 goals, capped at international level but never scored, and he opened the scoring in the demolition derby. Now, Ando says he doesn't want the limelight. Corbett, again, you always get the limelight. So, for that point of view, I'm going to pass the limelight on this occasion to young Tam. On this particular night, being called Thomas Fraser. So, go on, Thomas. Give us the answer.
It is Andy Kirk.
It is Andy Kirk. Correct. Opened the scoring.
I was sweating there,
fantastic.
I was trying to think who of you text to get that answer.
Shanks, he was a ball boy.
Aye. Fantastic afternoon at Tynecastle. Let's hope for another fantastic evening at Easter Road on Tuesday night.
Exactly. And the good news for all our regular listeners is if we don't get a great result on Tuesday, tune in for Wednesday because the reaction will be fucking brilliant. Right, boys. Have a good night. Let's see you all on Tuesday.
You'll see me,
Will
you
do.
bastards.
See you there, man.
I know. Me either.
See you
You
there,
bunch of
Tammy.
sods.
Hey.
Fuck off. Enjoy your burger and the light.
Bunch of
Gorgero.